Hi, Steve Vance here, and I want to talk to you about the Daytona 500. I just received my 2016 Daytona 500 Daytona Rising ticket package, and there's some really cool stuff in here I want to share with you, in particular for my friends that are joining me at the racetrack. I want to talk to you about our trip and where we're seated and some things. And for the rest of you that may have never experienced NASCAR, I want to talk to you about NASCAR racing as a whole and the Daytona International Speedway, because it's something that you really need to consider. It's a great opportunity. Or for those of you that are going to the race and haven't gotten your package or still indecisive, you need to know this. There's really cool stuff here. I'm going to talk to you about it. So let's take a look. First thing, inside is a detail of the track seating and of the seats and the track layout. So I'm going to walk this through in particular for my friends that are joining me on the trip 2016. So first off, our seats for the 2016 Daytona 500, roughly February 21st, 2016, are going to be located right here. One of these lower sections on the top row, right across from the pit action. So turn 4 is over here. There's start-finish line going into turn 1. So we're going to be approximately right here. The day prior, for the nationwide race, we're going to be located similar to where we were previously, located right about in here, in one of the middle sections, probably right about there. And as we were before, looking down, pretty much right down into the pit road and into turn 4. So some really good seats. But in particular, I want to talk about those lower section seats, because you won't believe what Daytona's done. Really cool stuff. They've taken the seats and they've moved the lower seats about 12 feet higher. That's going to give you a better view. And of course, this track is 2.5 miles wide. So all that stuff on the backstretch, they got plenty of video monitors right there for you to see all the action that's going on. But you're going to be able to see everything from a better view. All of the lower level seats, they've changed the angles of the seats. They've changed the arrangements of the seats in order to give you a better view. So you've got some really cool views down here in the lower sections. Incidentally, for those of you that joined me on the summer race, we're going to be about in the middle sections, roughly about right here. Very similar to where we've experienced the summer race before. And at the end of this, I'm going to talk about the summer race. If you've never been, you need to think about going. I'm going to tell you why and all about it. So one of the other things to look at here, and we talk about the seats, is the seat rows. Instead of having now 30 some odd seats, most of the rows have no more than 24 seats. So it gives you less walking back and forth. The other thing is, let's talk about getting to your seats. They've got 40 escalators. That's the most of any sports arena, sports venue in the entire United States. And they've got 14 elevators. Our seats on the back stretch, I think there were only 2 elevators previously. And the steps that we had to walk up to, for some of you that remember, it was flight after flight. I think it was 6 or 7 levels of steps. Now they've got 40 escalators designed and more entrances and exits and egress from your seats to make it a much easier experience to get to your seats. They've also relocated and re-identified some of the ticket entrances to make it easier to get flow in and out and to your seats. So really cool stuff there. We're going to talk more about the seats in a second when I share with you some of the good news and some of the configuration stuff that's really neat there. So while I'm looking at this, I want to stay with it for a second, because you may recall the midway used to be over here on turn 4. That's where all the trucks were, with all the souvenir trailers, all the special events and displays, the bands. Particularly, I always like the Army experience there. Pretty cool stuff there. The old cars, the race car cutaways, all of that activity is now going to be moved to a more central location here, kind of a midway concourse right here in the vicinity of the start-finish line, behind the stands, of course, so that both folks that are on the turn 1 side or the turn 4 side have easy access to all of these concessions and souvenir stands and all of this activity there. So that's pretty exciting. In fact, I'm planning on spending most of Saturday, the morning before the nationwide race, probably walking from one end of this back and forth, really experiencing everything. So I'm very pumped up and excited about that. So now let's talk about the seating configuration and those things. First off, I want to tell you, inside my Daytona ticket package, they gave me something really cool. I want you to look up close. 3-hole punch in metal. That means it's a keeper. Why? Inside, take a look at this. High gloss, high definition picture of some of the original racing on the beach at Daytona. How cool is that if you're a NASCAR fan? So you've got the Evolution, and on the very back, there's a picture of Big Bill France with no asphalt down yet, just the banking that took place there. So some really neat kind of stuff. So we've got that, but inside they talk about all the things that are taking place there, and I'm going to just share with you some of the cool stuff that you're going to experience. So first off, I talked about the elevators and the escalators. 40 escalators and 14 elevators. That's really, really cool. More restrooms. Talk about more escalators than any sports venue. More restrooms. They've tripled the restrooms and upgraded the facilities. So what does tripling mean? Start with 600 and triple that to 1,891. What? Did I just say that? 18,891. Nearly 2,000 restrooms? Talk about making it easy when you got to go. You're in and you're out and you're back at your seats enjoying the race. So thank you, Daytona. Ticket gates, I've already talked about how they've reconfigured those and moved them around to make it easier to get in and out the track. They've got a special club level on levels 3 and 4 that features a dedicated bar area overlooking the midway, 21-inch seats and high-end food and beverage options. Let's talk about seats in general. I mentioned 21-inch seats. Well, let me tell you something. Those old 15-inch metal seats, they're gone. They've been replaced with 20-inch or 21-inch, the plastic-type, stadium-type seats, all with armrests. So that's the first thing that's pretty cool. And every armrest has its own cup holder. Can you imagine that? And it's great. So a great place to put your beverage of choice there. And in addition, you know what? Even though Daytona has all these new concessions with these wonderful food experiences I'm going to tell you about, you can still bring in your own coolers. So it's a great opportunity to tailgate, bring in your own stuff, take advantage of the cup holders, thank you, and armrests. Hey, and let me talk about those 20 and 21-inch seats. My friends that go with me, I'm 6 foot, 195, working on 190. And you know what? I would consider myself a medium-sized guy, maybe a hair taller than the average guy. But my buddies that go with me to the race, on one side I got Brian. He's 6'7", 275. On the other side I got John. He's 6'6" and 255. Let me tell you something. Not only do I look about this tall compared to them, when we sit side by side in those old seats, it was shoulder to shoulder. No more 20 and 20-inch seats with their own armrests. Let me tell you something. Thank you, Daytona. So let's talk about a couple of other little things here. We talked about larger, more comfortable seats, better views of the race. We talked about that. All new sound system. They've really configured the sound system so not only can you hear better their announcements, public service announcements, the play-by-play race, but when you leave your seats and go into one of the concession areas or the restrooms, they got the sound system there too. So you can hear everything that's going on. And what's better than hearing it? Seeing it. Imagine this. 1,600 video monitors. Anywhere you go at Daytona, when you leave your seats, heading to the restroom, heading to the concessions, you're still going to be surrounded by the racing experience. You're not going to miss anything. Really, really cool stuff. And your concession areas are all going to be new with seating areas, the video monitors, really, really neat kind of stuff there. I can't wait for some of the, here's an example they talk about. The concourse areas, the concessions, if you will consist of 11 football field-sized neighborhoods. So you leave your seats, you go to a football field that's full of concessions and food, drink, seating, and other conveniences. They got their own Wi-Fi on site, free Wi-Fi. Numerous food options, dedicated bars, food carts, seating and tables, numerous TV monitors, easy access to merchandise stores and concessions. This is the World Center of Racing, and they've done a world-class job of doing this. So that's my shameless plug for the Daytona 500. But let me tell you something. If you haven't been to a NASCAR race, certainly you got to consider going. The Daytona 500 is a tremendous experience, but I understand that sometimes in the spring, it's a little tough for people to make the time to do that. I want to tell you about the summer race. It's roughly around the 4th of July. It's a night race. And when those cars are all waxed up and shiny, when they come out for their first parade lap, let me tell you, the flashlight bulbs start coming off in turn 4, and they follow those cars like a wave of flashlight bulbs all the way around to turn 1. It is really, really neat. The racing's at night, and because it starts in the evening and moves into the late night, 10 o'clock or so before it finishes, the racetrack surface is going to change with the temperature change. That means that the racing excitement is at a peak there. It's only 400 laps instead of 500. So you've got the, whoops, give me just a second here. I need to bring a light back up. So there we go. So You've got really great exciting race there taking place at night. And after the race is over with, the largest fireworks display in Florida. Great racing under the lights like nothing you've ever seen. And then the skies lights up with the fireworks. So you get fireworks on the track, fireworks on the lights. A personal shout out at this time to Kerry Gritton. Why is Kerry important to me in my life? Because my father-in-law had never experienced NASCAR racing. He didn't grow up in NASCAR culture. He's Puerto Rican. And so joining us on vacation, kind of for a family reunion, I took him to the race for his first time ever. And my wife, who's not a NASCAR fan, didn't think he was going to like it at all. Boy, was she surprised. So thanks to Kerry, I was able to take my father-in-law into the pits before the race, the garage area, get him a first-hand experience of all the preparation that goes into the racing before they get started. He got a chance to walk on the track and see some of the pre-race activities and see the 31-degree banking. And then see the race. And to this day, he says that is the most exciting sports experience that he has ever experienced. He still talks about it to the amazement of my wife. So he was so enthused, and that's the way you're going to be. If you've never been to a NASCAR race, in particular, and never been to a race at Daytona, you need to go there. It is exciting. It is thrilling. 43 cars running that close or that close at 200 miles an hour. 3 seconds from this first one to the last one, 43. It's amazing racing, moving in and out, competing for position. It is absolutely exciting. You could Google some past racing experiences there, but you need to be there. So that's my shameless plug for NASCAR racing and for Daytona. And for all my friends, I can't wait to see you the Daytona 500 or the Coke Zero 400. And for anybody else, let me tell you something. I'll see you at the races.